Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. For me, it's only been a couple hours. Um, for Marcus and Ted, it's been like a month.
I was about
Um,
to say, you said who were you interviewing? Was it
I just finished talking to Kelly
Kelly
Thompson,
Thompson?
who,
Yeah.
as we speak, is on Word Balloon.
Oh,
So
good
she's
God.
also having a busy day.
Yeah,
I
I'll say.
just I just got I have Word Balloon alerts set on YouTube. And just as Marcus and I were starting, I got the little alert on my phone to say Kelly Thompson is now, and I'm like,
Good
hey, I
God.
booked her first.
I was about to say, I don't actually know. Is she kind of doing the press tour for a new book? I don't actually know what her thing is up.
um,
Not to give her even more free advertising, but
I mean, really, when it comes to it's like a threefold thing, and I'm like so happy that I reached out to her. I reached out to her, and we started booking the episode when she said Black Cloak was coming back.
Hmm.
While we were still figuring out a date, she announced Scarlet in the GI Joe universe.
yeah, okay, yes. Hey,
Um, then she announced Powerpuff Girls.
shit, I didn't even know about that one.
Then she got 5 Eisner nominations.
Well, okay, yeah, that that's also a pretty significant.
so, so yeah, she's kind of
It's a
doing the
big week.
whirlwind thing right now. We talked about that some in our talk, which should be up tomorrow evening. So, if you want to hear
Hmm.
Kelly Thompson talk about all of those books and just kind of the whirlwind that having all of those books and a bunch of Eisner nominees all at once
Yeah.
creates,
Yeah, good God. Is that
it'll be
tomorrow night
available
for
on
us or tomorrow night for the listener who's downloading
tomorrow.
this?
Well, I mean, actually, yeah, that's tomorrow night for you guys. For the listener, it probably went up either right before this episode or at
Hmm.
the same time as this episode. Um,
Okay.
Cool.
Depending on whether Tyler put stuff up directly or set a time for it to go up, which he goes back and forth on whether he remembers to set it up to go up at a certain time or just goes upload, publish.
Right.
So yes, listeners, this may be for the future in you or the past, but
Yeah.
for us, it's the
Hey,
future. Anyway,
yeah,
time is
yeah,
a
yeah.
flat
Hey,
circle.
hey, hi,
Hmm.
mom. Hi, John. You might have already listened to Kelly Thompson. Depending on which order your phone is downloading things this week. Mom's has sometimes been giving her the newest episodes and then jumping back to like random old ones, and she can't figure out why.
That's yeah. It. I don't even know, man. I've given up. This is why I appreciate podcasts that put the episode number in the title. So I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
it
yeah,
is. I like
Yeah.
doing that too. Yeah.
We
yeah.
we try to. I mean, all of our weeklies have the episode number in. All of our book clubs have the episode number in. Well, the number for that book club. So I
Right. That's
guess
a
I've got like 7 different numberings.
yeah. It depends. Yeah, it depends on which club.
Right,
Anyway.
right. So Milestones hardware.
Yeah.
Good.
This
McDuffie and Dennis Cowan really bringing it in this arc from
I was about to say,
action
I am trying to
standpoint.
remember. So I joined the book club a little bit later, and I
Right.
like hardware would have been the first thing you guys read because I think that was the
Yeah.
Mhm.
debut.
Yeah.
That was like,
It
yeah.
was. It was.
Yeah.
I was talking with a friend of mine from who does another podcast, not to, uh, accidentally
You can
advertise.
plug. I mean, we already plugged Word Balloon.
That's true. So I was talking to my friend Chris Sims
Like
of
like John needs the plug, but John's a good guy. I hung
yeah, of
out with
course.
him at C2E2. He
Oh,
helped me not feel like I was anxious because I was sitting and hanging out with somebody when I was in sensory overload.
oh yeah, no, John's good people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was talking I was talking with Chris Sims of War Rocket Ajax who did
Okay.
who did there was a thing so they do a thing where they every month they catch up on something they never read before, whether it's a recent thing or 30 years
Mhm.
ago or whatever. And this past week they or last month or whenever they did the first 10 issues of Icon, which he had never
Okay.
read
Oh.
obviously. And he asked me because he knew that I was a Milestone guy. He asked me, like what is like the flagship icon like Milestone title? Because it's
Mhm.
not really icon, it's sort of Icon, but it's also not. It's he knows Icon well enough, but like he doesn't know all the Milestone stuff. And so it was interesting to talk and be like, no, really, hardware is really the flagship Milestone title, I feel like, because I don't
I
know,
think
he feels the
I think that's fair.
most I mean, it's tough. They're all good, obviously. They're all doing slightly different things too.
Mhm.
But Icon is the one that always, or Hardware is the one that feels the most like a thesis statement, you know? It's the one, I
Right.
mean, it opens with literally like, here's the thesis statement of Milestone Comics is here's a black man who was treated horribly by his industry and
Right.
decides to
Mhm.
go and do his own thing. Like
Well,
that's literal, almost as literal as you could get about it, you know?
Right.
and most of it is McDuffie and Cowan, who are definitely the biggest names at the beginning of Milestone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Although so much talent passed through, and which I
Oh,
know you guys
absolutely.
know, but like I definitely, yeah, that's why I think it's good that as we go through, we try to mention some of the other names that pop up because
oh, for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
a lot of great people.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this guy. What's his face? Who did art for the Static comics? What was his name? Oh yeah,
John Paul Leon,
Jean Paul Leon. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I was
little
genuinely
known
forgetting his
artist.
name for a
Yeah,
second, though.
yeah.
I was like, crap, I have to do this punchline, and anyway.
Isn't he the guy that did a Batman and Catwoman fill-in issue with Tom King?
Oh my God, that's right, he did. I forgot about that.
Except that
Um,
he died while he was doing it, so other
oh
people had
God,
to ink it.
the
Which
one
made
of
it poignant in all sorts of ways.
oh yeah, one of my favorite John Paul Leons, incidentally, was actually Wintermen, which was also
Oh, yeah.
sort of unfinished and not quite not quite unfinished exactly, but they had to like rush the final issue out basically. But it was an interesting read, and I like that one a lot. And I can only dream of like getting to have gotten more of that. And didn't he also do? He did the Batman Earth One or what was the title? It was Buziak
Oh,
Batman
Oh, I know
Batman.
what you're talking about.
like
Is
Dark
Yeah.
and Terrible or something.
it? You mean the one that
Oh,
was like the true story around? Wasn't that Batman Dark
well,
Knight?
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
that's what it
Dark
was. Because
Knight.
they had also
Yeah.
done the Superman one, where it was,
Right.
a kid named
Right.
Clark Kent who,
Right.
yeah, that was. So I remember that book. I think he did the art on that, and that was phenomenal. That was a fun read.
Yeah, that
Um,
one actually got delayed because he got sick. That was one of the
oh
last
God, I
things
never
he.
realized. Oh, that makes
Mhm.
sense though.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
it's a great read. I like that one a lot.
it is. It's amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. We're barely even staying on topic. No, we never stay on topic, but
How many times do
No,
I
but
have to tell
I
you?
do want to
Book,
talk about
book
hardware.
clubs don't mean we have to stay on topic all the time, but I know Marcus wants to
Yeah, but
talk
let's.
hardware, and I
Okay.
want to talk hardware.
oh,
So
I
it's
want to
good to
talk
go
about it.
back to hardware, but there's no reason to apologize.
Yeah. So I definitely think, I mean, I think last couple times we kind of experimented with not doing a full, recap, but kind of like just hitting the beats and, that we like and everything. I think I do like doing it that way too, because it allows, I think it invites people to jump in and see what we're
Agreed.
talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, do we want to do like maybe everybody's like initial thoughts about the arc or like favorite moments, or I don't know, how do you want to start?
Well, I mean, I think it's worth doing the broad picture of the beats, which
Yeah,
is this is definitely an action-packed hardware.
right.
But it's got his relationship with why
Rocky.
am I for Baraki
Baraki, yeah, the Baraki stuff.
kind of taking a turn.
Yeah.
It's got um is it Alva figuring out who he is
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
taking the
that's, I
role
mean,
he
This is
can't
the biggest, one of the
refuse.
biggest milestone curveballs I remember from
Right.
back in the
yes.
days.
This is the
Because,
yeah. So I know I've talked a little bit before about my experiences where I had like because of like a friend of my dad's, I had gotten my hands on a handful of random issues from like
mhm.
the third year of Milestone's stuff. So I had like, icon number 21 or something and hardware number 25, something like that. And one of the ones I had involved icon or the hardware issue I had involved, it's from a later bit, but he's working with Alva already by that point, although their relationship is of course pretty strained.
Mhm.
But it was a really interesting thing to see where like we have this for me to read sort of divorced of all context because this was the early 90s. I couldn't exactly look up what had happened in previous issues easily. Um, Not knowing much about it, but knowing that he had this antagonistic and yet like necessary relationship with this guy who was
Yeah.
sort of a jerk to him, but also they had their reasons for working together. That was already like a fascinating hook for me because I'm like, oh, I want to know
Right.
kind of what the story is. Why, yeah, why these guys sort of dislike each other and yet are working together and everything. And then this is the thing that leads to that, and I really liked it. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, sir.
well, I was just going to say, I mean, yeah, so these four issues comprise basically two little mini story arcs. Um, the first of which I feel is it's like you said, action packed, but
Mhm.
also I don't know, I don't want to say it's weak, but it does feel I don't know, it felt
What's it?
like
Yeah.
sorry, I'm trying to arrange my thoughts on it. I
Yeah.
I don't think it was bad. I do think like there was a whole lot of action. I mean, there's a lot of action. You know, he's riding around in a
Yeah.
jet ski with a shotgun, and there's
Right.
Reprise comes back, so there's explosions and cloning things and everything, and it's a lot of action for a story that like the meaning of it has there's kind of a not quite a sick twist, but there's a big twist to it, and then the idea of like, oh, that's you know so spoilers for this two issue arc. It involves the fact that Baraki hears from an old friend of hers. It's an old friend, right? Like Jonathan Stroman is a guy she knew
Mhm.
from
I
Yeah,
think
way
the
back
college.
when.
teacher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
professor that, yeah.
Yeah.
And
He's
he's
a, he's
gonna,
a he's a black academic.
Right.
yes. An older black academic, and he's gonna be debuting a new, not debuting. He's gonna be reading from a new book at this. They had a name for it. Afram.
Yeah, I mean it's a conference.
It's
Yeah.
a, yeah,
It
Black
was
Scholars,
or
Black Studies conference, basically. Um, and Reprise has apparently been hired by somebody to kill him and destroy all copies of his book, which becomes a problem when he does kill the guy. But then Baraki had already gotten a proof copy of his book, and of course Reprise has to chase her down, and Hardware is with her, but he doesn't have his suit, which I thought was nice. I always love it when you have your character with the super cool suit who doesn't have it for that one arc. Um, but then of course the big twist is that the guy who hired him to kill this professor was the professor himself, and it's sort of a commentary on the idea that only martyrs get to have the really big public there's a press coverage for martyrs that you don't get from other things that is, I don't know, it felt a little rushed, I guess is how I would put it, where it's like I can see the meaning of it, but it's also like I don't know. It felt at odds with like the giant explosion-filled shotgun riding jet ski story, you know?
yeah, I mean, I think my read on it. I mean, I really like this arc. I I thought it was pretty cool. I was wondering like how long they were going to uh you know allow our hero to have all this action and this tense nail biting situation without getting in his suit, and now we're in the time where and he actually later in this arc he does an upgrade to his suit, but
Yes.
we're in the time now where everybody's got like a nanotech suit and it flies across the country and lands on you right before the bullets hit you,
Yeah.
but like this is 1992, so it's like as badass as Hardware's suit is, it's not able to do
He
that.
still can't get it through customs.
Yeah, exactly. And I really I don't know, I kind of like it is it's always a big swing to have your hero depowered more or less. And also like depowering storylines vary. My mileage varies with them just because it's kind of like, well, that's a big part of why I'm here is, what I mean, the amazing things you could do. But I think they really made this work to the extent where I feel like definitely the first time I read this, I got pretty far in the arc before I was like, oh yeah, like he doesn't even have his suit, but like, what I mean? They're still managing to make the action, meaningful. And I don't know, like I thought that the martyr part, the only thing about the martyr part is where I would, agree somewhat is that I think if we had spent more time with the author, who
Yes.
dies, and then I think
Yeah.
that's what's lacking. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like you're introduced to him briefly early on in the arc,
And he's
and then
kind of a little
you
bit
see
lecherous. Like asked Baraki, he asked if he can, come in with Baraki, and she's like, no, no,
right,
no,
but he does. If
no.
I'm not mistaken, he does take no for no pretty
Right.
quickly.
He's not
Right.
a bad guy with it. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a little like our only impression
Right.
of him is
He,
like,
she
oh, he
shot
doesn't.
his shot, but
Yeah,
like he
fair. Yeah, fair.
he
Good
was
point.
rejected,
I
and he
mean,
was
there
like,
is
cool,
the great line there where he says that he's only joking, and she
right, and
tells
she,
him,
yeah,
"You wouldn't have been if I'd said
if I
yes."
said
Yeah.
yes,
Ooh, that I
and
forgot about you. That is a good line.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, she's sharp. She's sharp. And actually, you know what? I actually appreciate that, because we've seen Baraki throughout the earlier issues, but we really spent some time with her, and I don't know, like the you spend some time with her, and the complexity of her relationship with Curtis. It's not necessarily any one thing. I think they're kind of figuring things out. They get thrown into this situation. I like the part where stuff's really going haywire, and she says, "Remind me never to come on vacation with you again." And then he reminds her that like that Reprise is actually like trying to
After
kill
her,
her. Like, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So if anything,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was nice. It is fun to watch them bounce off each other because I had forgotten. I was trying to remember when did Reprise show up, and I was going back through all
Mhm.
the issues, and of course he's in the very first issue. I forgot
Early,
that
yeah,
part.
very.
Yeah, but like in those early issues, there's the bit where I was about to say Icon Hardware is his suit's damaged and he ends up at Baraki's and sort of inadvertently reveals his identity early on, and
Mhm.
she's very sort of quick to point out like you basically you did all this, you blew up all this stuff, you killed those guys because your boss wouldn't give you a raise, and that's simplifying the situation, but I do
Mhm.
like that she's sort of
She
the
grounds him.
more
Yeah.
what was that?
Yeah.
Well, she kind of grounds him
Yes,
in a sense.
she
Yeah.
does. Yeah, she does that, and I do like that she does that, and I like that she's the one who's she doesn't like the hardware aspect of this, and she's the one who's actively kind of pushing back on his uh action action packed tendencies.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
If
yeah,
anything, I kind of I may be mistaken, but I think that was kind of why she said that they have to chill basically on being more than friends.
Yeah.
Was him being hardware, right? I mean, I could be mistaken, but I vaguely remember that.
trying
Also,
to remember.
I do think it's worth saying, just briefly for listeners who are like, you guys are saying a lot of names. Just I'm gonna give like the really quick bullet points. I mean, Ted, you already mentioned one of the biggest things uh, of the entire story and premise of hardware, which is that Curtis Metcalf, who is our main character, our titular character, is a brilliant black scientist, inventor, and he worked for this sort of patriarch figure who is like a super CEO, and we learn much more, named Edwin Alva. Little bit of commentary in that too, if you know about
Alva
Lewis
Thomas Edison.
Latimer,
Yeah,
and yeah, and Edison taking credit for a black man's inventions. He invented some stuff on his own too, I'm sure. But some of his biggest ones, there's unrecognized black people. But anyway, so long story short, as you mentioned, Ted, like Curtis early on confronts Alva. Alva just is super dehumanizing and disgusting, and I do think it's important to recap this only because we're going to get into Alva stuff in a minute. But and so Curtis does some digging, and he's really vengeful, he's really angry, and in doing his digging and creating like his costume to basically go to war with Alva, he discovers that Alva's also got his hands super dirty in like all kinds of things. So he wages a war on crime, but it's initially not the purest intentioned war on crime, because it's mostly about vengeance, and that is what Baraki like challenged him on. And in the past, arcs that we have reviewed, like he has had some growth in that regard, as far as like trying to do this for better reasons than just pure hate and vengeance. Anyway, I
yeah,
just figured probably I want to hit some of the big points just in case people haven't read. But
yeah,
but yeah.
and that's the thing. Like when I was talking with my friend about like why hardware is the I don't know about flagship book exactly, because I mean we were also talking about Static and how Static kind of became the breakout character, but I don't think he was intended to be. Although that's a hard thing that's a hard thing to measure. But like, I think Hardware is the one that has the clearest like this is the experiences we have had that are being put on the page. Icon has more commentary, I guess is a bad way to put it, but like Icon has more of a rhetorical strategy. You know, it says here are these two characters with very distinct viewpoints. Um, Putting them together on the page and watching them interact is really fascinating, and they have distinct points that are worth learning about. Um, but hardware is like, yeah, this is the experience that we have had that we are talking about to some degree. And yeah, it
I would.
watching and also knowing that McDuffie to some degree intended him to be a guy who changed his mind over time and was like, maybe I don't want to just be blowing dudes up all the time. And actually, like,
Mhm.
I mean, one of the big things about his new suit is that it's all the weapons they show off are non-violent or non-lethal. So
Right.
like, it's clear that he's changing his strategy with this new suit. And that's, I think, yeah, that's just a major part of the growth of the book as a whole. So
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting. Like, I mean, the question about it being, what I guess what's the flagship? Because in a lot of ways, you know, I don't know. This reference might not mean too much to you guys, but I look at the initial run like the Wu-Tang Clan, like like when people
Ooh.
because fans will debate about like who's the best, and everybody's got a different best. I myself have my rankings within, so it's like, but there's great stuff, kind of from all angles, and I can tell you like all the things especially the initial three, and like there's some, and then there's like the weird stuff they get into later, like zombie and stuff that isn't the initial run. um but I think the initial, what, four books, wait, Static, Hardware, Icon, Blood Syndicate,
Yeah.
I remember being there, and I remember showing up at Earthworld Comics every month, and it was because I had read, there was an article in the paper. I told the story on the podcast before, but like I just remember like my father called me downstairs. He was reading the paper and he was like, oh, this will probably interest you, and I read about it, and I was like, it was just in the regular newspaper, and I was like, oh, like, yeah, I gotta get this. And this article dropped before the books came out, so I remember being a little disappointed that they weren't all just coming out every month, that they kind of staggered them. But it was cool because it built anticipation. And like, I loved Hardware initially. I'm trying to remember if Blood Syndicate was second. I think it's in whatever order they are in the first compendium. But either way, like I enjoyed them
I
all.
happen to have it right here.
Okay, yeah, yeah. What's the
It
order?
was Hardware,
Mhm.
Blood Syndicate,
Right. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Icon,
my memory's right. Yeah.
Static.
Then Static, yeah.
Yeah.
And but yeah, like, and to me, like that was, I don't know, like it's probably in ninth or 10th grade. It just kind of blew my mind being able, because it was like one after another, they were doing really, really cool stuff. And yeah, I just really enjoyed that initial run. But yeah, Hardware is really doing its own thing. One thing that as we were speaking about it, because we've discussed before how, you know, the not only does the Curtis Metcalf Edwin Alva relationship mirror Thomas Edison, but also um just Dwayne McDuffie hitting the glass ceiling in the comic book industry. And
Yeah.
it kind of makes me wonder. I'd have to, I do want to like cross reference to just see what he had going on. Cause I know that even though like he stepped away from Milestone, he ended up doing more big two work, after this. So it almost makes me wonder if like this Alva twist, which, did we actually say what it was yet? The
no,
Alva
I don't
When
twist
he
think we
comes
went
did,
out.
and
back
it
and
is.
But
yeah.
yeah, it actually makes me wonder if it. Well, I'll say it just since we're talking about it now. But like basically, Curtis has been relishing basically the fact that he's built up the tools to dismantle Alva like literally right under his nose, because it's like his lab with all his hardware stuff is like under Alva's building. So it's kind of layered metaphors too. It's you could maybe compare it to Underground Railroad, other things, but like he is down. So it's no different in this arc. Like, he comes back from his vacation, and he's in his lab and he's literally thinking about that, thinking about taking down Alva from within, from underneath. and he turns around, with his suit on, and Alva's sitting in the chair, and it was like, "Hello, Curtis," you know,
Yeah.
and
Doing the classic supervillain thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and then it leads to basically the cliffhanger of this arc. And I have to have to talk about this a little bit because I believe this is the last hardware we get before the event. So
Oh,
it
that's
was really
right. Yeah.
frustrating because I was like, wait, I need to see, you know what I mean? I need to see where this is going to go because basically, that happens at the end of one issue. And then the last issue in this arc, Curtis is trying to he has this conversation with Alva, this very kind of war of the minds, chess conversation, and he steps away if I'm remembering correctly, and it basically is like going to think about it, and then and he goes, he wants to talk to Baraki, but then he basically hangs up the phone because he's like, I don't even I can't really talk to her about this. And he's also like, I don't know, things might be weird after our trip, et cetera, et cetera. But the culmination of it is at the end of the issue and the end of this arc is he says to Alva, like, all right, I'll work with you. And it's a little more complex than that because Alva has this whole pitch, which I totally don't trust. He's a snake and a
Yes.
half. But his whole pitch is basically that, oh yeah, man, like I know this whole thing started because like, you came to me and you felt you were owed something and I reacted poorly. But then in the next breath, he's basically telling him like, hey man, but it's like it's like I kind of wasn't wrong for reacting poorly because, you had made a lot of great stuff for me, but you weren't making anything new beyond that point. Which for those of us coming from a, you know, worker, an employee versus employer situation, you're like, well, why am I gonna, make you all this new stuff if you're not like, if I have no guarantee of any advancement? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but I was thinking about it like a boss, et cetera, et cetera. So he's basically double speaking him and telling him, but then he offers him this Faustian bargain, where he's like, basically saying like, yeah, man, like you'll be like the VP of tech, and then you have all this great stuff, just totally unlimited budget. You get to do stuff, and hey, man, you can. There might be times where I might need hardware, in my employ, and you can choose. You have freedom as to whether or not, like, you make hardware work for me, and all this stuff. But basically, it's totally self-serving because
Yes.
hardware has been a threat and a thorn in his side,
Yeah,
So
what
yeah.
I liked about Elva's pitch is that like the way that he phrases it is like, look, when I rejected you that first time, it was because I thought that you basically had given me everything that you had. And now it turns out, oh, you created this whole amazing battle suit. Like, hey,
Mhm.
now you're suddenly valuable to me again. Like it's very,
Yeah,
it's
but I'm telling you, I didn't buy it because I think it's that retroactive. It's like what's that thing that dudes that like pick up artists do to women? Oh, negging. It's like
yes.
negging. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Oh
He's
man.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's like basic. Come on, I didn't buy because it's not that we walked in on the series when Curtis was stalled out, and also again as a black person who's been in corporate America, I can tell you it's like, yeah, it's kind of circular when you're mistreated, or even like the stereotype that black people don't tip. I tip very well. That being said, like if there's a lot of people in the service industry that come in with the assumption that black people aren't going to tip, and then they give you crappy service, and it's like, well, I mean, the service is the kind of part of the social contract of a tip. So it's like if you're
Right.
mistreating people and then they don't tip you, like, how mad can you be? And how much can you actually blame it on their ethnicity as opposed to maybe the fact that you were a crappy waiter? You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying
Oh
I
yeah.
don't buy what Alva is selling.
Oh, I don't buy it either. That's the thing of it. Like
Yeah.
that's the genius
I
of
don't,
it is
I
like
don't even know
Alva's.
that Curtis completely buys it. I
Oh
think
no, he
Curtis,
doesn't. No.
yeah, Curtis thinks that he can play it.
Yes.
Right, which is again why I was so mad that I had to wait so long. Because I don't know
Right.
if we said it, but Curtis seemingly accepts Alva's
Right.
offer. You know what I mean? And like, I was so mad that we had to wait for the event to be done to And spoiler alert, I've mentioned before I've read ahead, and when they do get to hardware again, they don't specifically jump right back to where that left off either. So, and the
Yeah.
event goes on for a
I mean,
while.
they just want to torture you, Marcus.
They really
They
do.
want to
They
It,
torture
do.
us
it
all,
was
man.
it was designed to get you to keep buying more comics until you could finally get the answer that you were looking for,
Well, unfortunately, it
Absolutely.
worked.
which is coming sometime in 2027.
Right. Right.
But but yeah, I mean, I do like that Alvin. Yeah, no, that's the thing. We don't believe it for a second, and the way
Right.
that he also phrases it, where it's like, "Well, look, I did all this illegal stuff, but it's just because I had to because
Other people are worse.
yeah, I have to
Mhm.
compete with these guys."
If it weren't
Yeah.
for
Oh
me,
my
think of
God.
what could
Yep.
happen.
Yeah, it's very the whole
Right.
lesser of two evils thing is very it's so self-serving, and I love that
Right.
like Curtis doesn't buy it, we the readers don't buy it, and it's meant to be very clear to us that like yeah, there's a sort of Faustian bargain thing to it, but also he knows he believes he can make the system he believes he can make this arrangement work for him. And whether or not he
Absolutely.
can
Yeah.
is of course the big question, but like that's
Yeah.
I like that he's knowingly, willingly, with eyes wide open, entering into this bargain that he is aware is kind of shitty and probably not everything is on the up and up. I
Yeah.
love that. I really like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like that's the gist of these two issues is that Curtis has been offered by Alvin. Alvin. I keep saying Alvin like it's the freaking chipmunks.
Sure.
The
Alvin!
God, yeah, exactly. But he says, basically, now that I know that you're hardware and you've shown me that you really can make some cool stuff, why don't you make it? And like, I'll give you all the access to all the funds you need, and you can now finally make everything as opposed to just having to scrounge the crap from from your job. And
Yeah.
so he does. And so that whole second issue is basically the building montage where he he has to put all the stuff together and he
Yeah.
has all these cool new designs and like I was able to track down the actual like scans of the original issue and like there's a whole I don't remember if this is
Oh, in the back matter?
in the back matter of the book, but like there's a whole section of like the designs of his various cool new gadgets and like here's the plasma whip and here's the
Mhm.
here's the Omni cannon and stuff. And
Oh,
like,
it is in the back. Yeah.
okay, it is. I wasn't sure. But yeah, I love that stuff. And I mean it makes so much sense that it's like, yeah, you're gonna show off the cool new stuff that shows up in this issue. Like
Yeah.
that's the whole point. Um
Oh.
yeah, it's a hoot. I love this stuff. I love the mid-season upgrade. Everything's new
Mhm.
and fancy. Everything's cool now. He's got his new devices to do different types of damage. He's got the stun shells and everything.
Yeah.
And of course we also get a little bit deeper into the whole arrangement of system because Alva was system Indigo. I'm forgetting. He was system is that thing where like they all have color-based code names.
Mhm.
Was
Yes.
Alpha System was he Crimson
I
or
know.
Indigo?
I do forget that. I forget
Yeah,
exactly which one it was.
but yeah, like as part of Hardware's various attacks on Alva, he's since lost his status, and
Mhm.
now he's being challenged basically by another guy. I think the other guy is System Crimson. I think it's
Yes. Yeah. Because I read dude.
yes, yeah,
Sounds
he's
like
red.
that.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the yeah. Um, but yeah, so it's also drawing us deeper into the whole thing of like, well, what exactly is system? How are they all connected? What's the
Mhm.
what's the bigger power structure at play here? So
Yeah.
and it just gives us an excuse for more cool action where Hardware uses all his new toys and stuff. Yeah, it's dope.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is the big turning point. This is a year into this. This is a year into Hardware
Yeah.
because this is issue 13 that Alva comes to
Mhm.
him with the proposition, and 14 is when he actually accepts it, I suppose. And it does change
I
everything.
think it's 14 that he comes with the proposition. 13 is
Okay.
the beginning of the getaway.
Oh,
But the
okay. Oh, that's
weekend
right.
getaway
13.
was 2 issues.
Okay, there we go. All right, my bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's
I just happened to be looking at the right page at that moment that you said it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to correct you.
no, I
Don't
get
say
you.
you're bad.
No, I get you. No, that is the thing of it. It's like it's the first issue. It's the first issue of the second year. It's moving into the second year is what I should say. It's changing things up. It's shaking up the status quo. Now that Curtis is finally starting to accept that, hey, maybe I shouldn't just be an ultraviolent, not ultraviolet maniac, and kill every poor security guard I see, maybe I should. Now he's suddenly put in the position of like, well, prove it. What if your best option to ruin your worst enemy was to work with him and
Hmm.
supposedly help him become legit, I guess. I love that
Yeah.
that's also his pitch is like, well, if you help me do all these horrible illegal things, then maybe I don't have to do illegal things,
Right,
Curtis.
right.
It's so circular. I love it. Alva is
And you
such a
know,
great villain. I really
yeah,
like him.
and yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I would also just I think just like to, introduce into the discussion is if you think about it, right? Curtis as a character, I mean the central weakness, as it were, that made him vulnerable to Alva in the first place was that his father wasn't in his life when he was younger. He's this brilliant kid, but like there's that kind of like hole he's looking for a father figure, right? Alva swoops in, and we find out retroactively that it's not as altruistic and generous as it seemed, because I mean the whole impetus for Alva even recognizing him was seeing his brilliance, like at an early
Yeah.
age, seeing him invent stuff. So it's like he's literally being groomed, and so um I guess my point is it's interesting because whereas like maybe uh, Raquel Rocket like has very much like a kind of like political worldview and a certain relationship to um blackness beyond herself, you know what I mean? Like Curtis will pretty much tell you like Curtis is kind of about Curtis, and and I also think that it's interesting because it also leaves him room to grow as a character. So to me, there's as much as like I know he doesn't trust Alva, I do think there's an element to this to which it's like he got rejected not only by his white boss but by his father figure essentially. And a lot of times like kids you'll see where they have like a parent that's kind of messed up, they will try to rationalize it as much as they can, so I do also think that as much as it's like Curtis is playing chess, because he does say something, I think, I forget, I can't remember if he's speaking to Baraki, he's speaking to somebody about his mom, I think he was speaking to his mom maybe.
Yeah, because
um
he does have that phone call with her at one point. Yeah.
yeah, and as much as it's like, of course, he's not going to say, "Hey, mom, I'm hardware," and like he's not necessarily spilling all the secrets. He did kind of seem somewhat like, oh, I'm finally getting the recognition that I was looking for. Which, and the interesting thing about that is it is complex, like, and like a lot of Black people in the workplace who haven't gotten that recognition, it's like, yeah, sometimes they do get a little bit, um, and you can kind of go for the okey doke when you have employers who aren't, really thinking in your best interest. You know what I mean? Or maybe they're throwing you a crumb or something like that. So I just think that like that aspect of that's somewhat that I think they've somewhat hinted at that, as much as he's like probably still not Alva's biggest fan, part of this is fueled by like that recognition that I deserved all this time. I'm finally getting some of it. Granted, not in the best way. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it
I
was
mean,
interesting.
there is like that's the big thing for me with hardware that's different from say icon or static is that it is a little bit his ego. It is a little bit like,
Oh yeah.
hey man, I deserve this credit, I deserve this recognition, and it's not just Alva needs to be taken down, it's not just punishing the wicked, it's like no, he screwed me over, and he did, but like it's
Hmm.
his mission then becomes greater on later on, and he realizes, hey, maybe the best way for me to do good, or at least so he thinks at this point, or so he claims to think at this point, is
Right.
to work with Alva, at least a little bit within the system. And of
Yeah.
course, whether or not that's going to work out for him is a whole other question. But that's
Yeah.
the nature of the beast, unfortunately. Yeah, I this change to the status quo is so good, and
Hmm.
I don't really know what else to compare it to. It's not like a, it's not a Superman Lex Luthor thing because even Lex Luthor and Superman would occasionally work together and it kind of makes sense for them to do so. Like there's not another good pop culture comparison I could give it where it's
Right.
like, no, actually this does make perfect sense for this character to work with his absolute arch enemy and the guy who made him become a superhero in the first place, there's a reason he is now working with him that makes sense for both characters. And I
Yeah.
love that. It's yeah, this like I was kind of down on the first issue with Reprise and the martyr character and all that, just because the action packed tone felt a little bit at odds with the the storyline of martyrdom and all that. But that's yeah, these two issues, this is such a good shift for Hardware and for
Well,
Milestone
can
as a
I?
whole.
Yeah, and one thing I would just posit with the first arc with the, you know, I guess the relationship to, and you know, definitely, I think there's, yeah, there's a debate to be had about like how well the, you know, the author's martyr storyline is balanced with the action. But one thing I will say is, as the action, there's definitely like a lot of character stuff and character play throughout the action, and
That's true. Yeah,
one
it's
thing,
sorry.
yeah, and like I think one thing for me that, and I've talked about it a lot with Milestone, that that, you know, I mean, a lot of my favorite Marvel books didn't always have, is that they really understood that like Black people just have a wide gamut of views, feelings, interests, obviously, you know what I mean? Like we're not a monolith. And so I think you see, and this is very true, I guess the way it's playing out, because even as all this is happening, like Curtis is in this to protect Baraki. He's in it to you know, to survive, but he's not super concerned with the author, and the book even. Like, you know, he just
Mm,
understands that the book is something that's putting Baraki in danger, and that she wants to protect it, you know.
yeah, that's a
So
good point.
yeah, so it's kind of like you're seeing the again, this continuous like um not only balance of different perspectives, but also the way that that plays off of people, you know, people who are otherwise like connected, you know, and so I don't know. I thought that that was interesting because all that's happening while the action's happening. You know what I mean? So you kind of they're kind of juggling the action, their relationship, what it may or may not be,
Yeah.
and also just kind of like the just their different feelings and levels of investment in these issues pertaining to Black people and Black community. You know,
That's
and I mean, like Curtis is a he's like a startup bro. He's a he's a 1993 startup bro. So he's not as focused on the people. You know, and maybe Baraki is more so. And like, you know, so anyway, that's just
no,
Yeah,
one thing.
he definitely has an element of me first.
yeah, yes.
Um, and Baraki sometimes brings out something else in him. I think it's interesting that he's now having so much trouble reaching out to her,
Hmm.
even as he turns down Tiffany's advances.
Yeah,
Oh, that was another
Um,
point. Yeah, that the bit with
so,
Tiffany.
yeah.
so I mean, he clearly feels something, but I think he also is aware that she wouldn't be proud of the decision that he's made here. Um, and I wonder what level of conflict he's experiencing in terms of, yes, he doesn't trust Alva, but I mean, even when he's talking to Icon, you know, he like thinks to himself that you know, Icon thinks that he's just working things from the inside, and
Hmm.
Yeah, I forgot about
that's
the icon
not
conversation.
entirely
Yeah.
what I'm doing. And when he figures that out, he's gonna be an enemy.
It could be bad for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
forgot about that icon conversation, but that's so good. Yeah.
so I mean, it's like he's aware that he can't trust Alva, but I think at the same time he's possibly buying into the whole I'm better than the alternatives thing more than he should
Yeah.
possibly.
That's a good
Yeah.
that's
And it's going to be I'm very interested to see where he draws lines, how hard he sticks to them. Um, because there's also still, I mean, in calling his mother, you can tell that, you know, there's still that element of he wants to be able to say that he's successful in this traditional white man's way of I'm a VP, I'm making all this money. No, don't think too hard about what I do to do it. Just I did it. That's the important part.
I'm a VP. Who cares if I'm in
Which
bed with the
is
devil?
Right.
right, which is a an ongoing, clash between Black people of differing, points of
Yeah.
view is the fact of like, and even and other
Yeah,
marginalized
I mean,
groups
yeah,
too,
it's an ongoing clash
where
period.
right.
You,
Well,
you know,
yeah, I know, but I'm talking about Black people,
but definitely. No,
but
no, no, I agree.
yeah, yeah, but like, but no, just in the sense that of specifically of liberation isn't being rising to what the
Right.
oppressor does, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
and
no, I
thinking
mean, I didn't mean that as like an
no,
all
no, no, I'm
lives
not
matter
calling
type
you out,
comment.
but I just
No,
was
no,
adding that to the discussion. Yeah.
I was what I was trying to say is I think it's an example of what you've talked about in that Milestone is really good at showing the differences in black people and reminding us that the differences in black people are the same as the differences in white people are the same as differences in Asian people. You know, yes, there are different influences and different causes that we might get behind, um, but there's also the same financial motivations or the same lust motivations or the same there's similarities between humans no matter what they look like, um and to me that's always a powerful thing to be showing the the readers that don't look like the characters. Oh, you're not actually as different as you think you are. you know just because he's the black man doesn't mean he'll immediately take the side of all the black men over, oh, I get to be the VP. Um, yeah, I don't
Which
know entirely where I'm
ultimately, I
going.
mean, I think from a storytelling perspective is interesting because it kind of shines the light on, I don't know, is all this, hyper capitalism good for anybody,
Right.
and
Absolutely.
so, but yeah, and then the one thing I would add to just the discussion is everything you said, that like, Black people have a obviously range of views, feelings, etc. But we also have this common thread, which we I think recognize to differing degrees of kind of being under the heel of white supremacy,
Right.
to different degrees.
Right.
Um
Yeah.
and I
And
mean, I've probably mentioned on the show that like white supremacy ultimately hurts everybody, even white people. But
Definitely.
I don't want to center how it hurts white
No.
people, but it does. But like it's a system much like capitalism that is not working, for anybody. But it's also negatively impacting some people far worse than others. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think there is a lot of, and so when it comes to storytelling, this is a lot of people complain when people of marginalized groups ask for better representation of stories. But to me, it's more interesting in the sense that like if any group of people you had, it happens to be like, like white people and then by extension white male people who get to be the default in storytelling so often that there's just a little less to explore when you're like, well, my identity is just no identity. You know what I mean? And
Right.
like, and there's a lot
My
more that can be
identity is
mined.
I get to be every character.
Right. Yeah. And depending on the artist, like
Hey, hey, that
if
woman has a cool role. It should go to a white man. I don't care if her name's Ms. Marvel.
don't get me started on the yeah, I'm not even getting into a lot of fan opinions, but I'm just more talking about like, just storytelling in general. And
I
obviously
agree.
I'm not advocating for not having white characters, but I think that when writers are able to tell stories, where you really get to explore just all different types of experiences and different types of ways of experiencing the world. You get both what you're talking about
Absolutely.
Tad, which is seeing where there are like common threads, like, oh, I can relate to that character, and you get to see like maybe learn something. You know what I mean? Learn something
Hopefully
about
learn
somebody that's
something.
different than you.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, even in terms of seeing the common thread, I hope that that's something that learn. eh, just as a teacher, I have the kids that like, why do I have to read this book? I don't go through this stuff, and I'm like, well,
That's the
but
point.
that's part of the point, but the other point that I'll make is, what do you mean you don't go through this stuff? This character's going through that. You've never had a crush on a boy? Well, yeah, but I'm not underprivileged. I'm like, yeah, but that's kind of the point, is that there are parts of your life that are still the same, and they have different challenges, just like you'll have different challenges, and you have different benefits, and maybe there is even a benefit to them that you could see or not see. Um, there is value in putting yourself in other people's shoes, and it's always easier to put yourself in somebody's shoes when you can see the parts of their shoes that already fit. Does that make sense? It's a
Yeah, man.
tortured analogy, but
I get what you mean, though. I mean, it's seeing the commonalities, seeing seeing the parts that are similar to your story, that are distinct from your story, give you a better and more richer understanding of the human experience. That's the whole.
right,
That's why we read
Absolutely.
books. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
but yeah. I mean, that getting back to the central conflict and idea of, you know, Curtis working with Alva because he thinks that that's a better way to affect the system, and whether or not he's right about that. I mean, there's that famous phrase. I want to say it's Angela Davis. I'm not entirely sure about that. Of, you cannot dismantle the master's house with the master's tools. To say that, to play the game of white supremacy is to inevitably, or is to basically have already lost the game of
Angela
white.
Davis may have quoted it, but I'm not to cut you off, but it's actually I don't want to say it's an author. Part of me wants to
Uh,
say Toni Morrison, but it might be.
Toni Morrison was like that's another person I would have guessed. I honestly don't remember. I don't remember who said it first. It's a
Yeah.
phrase I've heard
It
But
before, but
anyway,
I
looks
know.
sorry to cut
like
you off.
it
No, you're
might
right.
be Audre Lorde.
Audre
Oh,
Lorde,
yeah,
absolutely,
there we go.
one of the
Okay.
most, iconic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, that's the thing. I couldn't remember
Where the
this.
master's
Yeah.
tools will never dismantle the master's house. They may
Yes.
allow us temporarily to beat him at his own game, but they will never enable us to bring about genuine change. And this fact is only threatening to those women who still define the master's house as their only source of support.
I mean, that's what we're talking about, though. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, good call, Ted. I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah.
that's the phrase that kind of kept ringing through my head when I was reading this, because it's like, yeah, that is Curtis's thought at the moment, is that, oh yes, if I play Alva's game, I can beat
Mhm.
him at it. And I I mean, Hardware is one of the ones where I did eventually read all of them, and it has been a while, but what I do remember is that it doesn't end how Curtis expects or wants it to end.
Mhm.
It doesn't, I mean, the milestone stuff in general does not obviously get to end in the way that anybody wants it to end, because they don't get to have a full conclusion of everything, and the ending is unfortunately not as satisfying as we want it to be. But specifically, Curtis's story and his relationship with Alva, unfortunately, does not give us exactly the resolution that we want or that we think we can have. And I think that's really important. I think that matters. I think it's good that Alva and Curtis's story ends in a way that is not satisfying for Curtis or for the reader. Again, I
Mhm.
am kind of spoiling, sorry at this point, but like
No,
it,
as much as I've read so much of this, I never read the end, so I do need. I'm looking forward to just seeing where it goes. Period.
yeah, it's incredibly good, and it does. Yeah, I mean, hey, guess what? Dwayne McDuffie's a good writer. No, I mean,
Oh yeah.
it really
What?
I know,
Wow.
shocker, but it reminds you that, yeah, Curtis is nobody is ever going to get exactly what they want, and Curtis unfortunately does not get exactly what he wants. He does. I mean, he gets to with the milestone stuff, of course. Also, like I said, doesn't get to end how we want it to. But like the way that Curtis's story, especially his interactions with Alva, ends, do not end the way that he thinks or wants it should end. But it's really fascinating to see what happens with it. So, yeah, seeing all that in the light of those in the light of knowing, oh, that's what happens next, is really, I really like that, and going back and like, oh yeah, that is what happens there. God, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like it genuinely sucks for a lot of reasons that Curtis gets so close to what he wants and doesn't quite manage it, and I think that's really cool. Or doesn't get what he thinks he wants. Yeah, I'm sorry, I really am reading ahead, but it's so good. It's yeah, the hardware stuff. When I said that it was the flagship book, I mean, even talking about something being like the flagship book is kind of a dumb way to define anything, because it's Milestone is more than just like the one greatest book they had, or the what was the biggest character they had. Milestone is so much more than that. But Curtis's story, I think, is the story they were trying to tell from the start, that is intertwined with with Dwayne McDuffie's story, with MD Bright's stories, with the guys who founded Milestone in the first place. And yeah, it's not to get too sort of, oh, there's a term for this, but not to get too sort of biographically criticism here, where every author's like personal life history has to inevitably like inform the stories they write or whatever. But like it is crucial to understand who Dwayne McDuffie was and what he did and why he wrote the books he did, to understand, oh, this is why Curtis's story ends this way. So
yeah,
I'm really getting ahead of everything here. I'm sorry.
no,
But like,
it's all relevant. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Anyway, yeah, these two issues are great. I cannot stress enough that this stuff is excellent. This is like pure Milestone magic in a way that I think is phenomenal. And yeah, man, I can't wait for future issues and getting to finally get to the end. And then yeah, we also got that little hint of like, oh, there's going to be the big DC, the big crossover with DC is coming up in just a couple issues, kids. It's like, oh boy,
Metropolis, baby.
oh, Metropolis and Dakota together at last.
Yeah.
The crossover that you never asked for.
Trapped in a world we never made.
And
but
may
you
or
get
may
to
not
see
actually want.
You get to see Chris Cross draw the Superman mullet.
Ooh, that's right.
Okay.
Oh, the classic mullet.
Because this is like solidly in Superman's mullet era. Actually, it's not even a mullet. It's really more of a, I don't know. It's kind of It's kind of like a glam rock. Well, I guess it depends on the issue on who's drawing it at the moment. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like it is inevitable to compare Superman to Icon and vice versa. That's the other thing that my pal Chris Sims said, was when they were talking about those Icon issues, is like, he said one of the things we talked about was like, is Icon a Superman figure? And the answer, of course, is yes and no, and that's not really the right question. Like, it's not. He is
the right question. Is Superman an icon?
He's iconic. There we go. But yeah, like it's not. Superman's relationships with other characters, there is no equivalent to what happens
he's the archetype for superheroes.
Exactly, yeah. But also, he has no equivalent of the Icon and Rocket relationship, which is the core of the Icon and Rocket, of the Icon book. Like that is the thing that makes that book so special, is those two characters bouncing off each other. And so it's watching him interact with Superman, and this is the stuff I don't remember so well. I'm really looking forward to watching him interact with Superman, because I do not remember like what their interactions are like all that well. So I'm hotly anticipating the Icon Superman team up.
I'm looking forward to talking about it. It's interesting. It's like there's a lot to talk about, because I have read this in the last year, but yeah, we'll get to it. It's got a lot of. I have not
read it at all.
Okay, yeah. Well, I won't spoil anything, except to say, well, I've already said it kind of does what crossovers do, which is you have elements of your monthly storyline that you're like, you can't wait to see continue, and the crossovers like, you gotta wait, and maybe we'll get back to it.
Not this month, sucker. Yeah. It is unfortunate, but it's all worth it in the end, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get there eventually. Yeah.
The only other thing I'll add, because we're probably winding down, is just from art perspective. You got some great Dennis Cowan art, but you also, ironically, there's a little bit of a Milestone switcheroo, because MD Bright jumped in for an issue, and also early Humberto Ramos.
You saw that,
yeah. Like I think my earliest recollections, who I like, but my earliest recollections of him were a little bit later. So I didn't actually realize that he'd been in the industry going back this far.
Yeah, I was looking at it and I'm like, I was trying to sort of recognize the Humberto Ramos art because I have actually, to be entirely fair, I haven't read a lot of his stuff recently. And I'm like, what am I looking for? Like, what is his most notable style? What's the thing that he does that is the most,
Yeah.
definitionally his? And
There's definitely elements of it, but
yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna be interested to see what, I don't know if he does more issues actually, come to think of it. I was curious about that.
I think he may pop up once or twice, but I don't think he's not on anything regularly that I remember. Um, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
Um, but yeah, man, I don't remember what we have next. I mean,
Blood
We have
Syndicate.
Blood Syndicate issues number 13, 14, and 15.
Yeah. Which also,
And then,
just side question.
and then we start our worlds collide.
Yeah.
Oh
Did we,
boy.
just out of curiosity, I know we got into Milestone Returns. Did we do the entire first season for all of the books?
Yes, we did the entire first season for all of the books. We haven't done any season two.
Now that I think about it, it's kind of weird that Hardware wasn't one of those season one book, or no, was he? Wait,
He was. Yeah. Or did we not
I
discuss
totally
it?
forgot about that. I missed that.
We
Never mind.
discussed it.
Matter of fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember if they started in the exact. No, they didn't start in the same order because Blood Syndicate was last this time, but Hardware was.
But it was
first.
still Hardware, and then Static, and then Rocket and Icon, and
Rocket
then
Icon,
Blood Syndicate.
Okay, I was just trying to remember. I couldn't remember what. Wow, I'm completely blank. Yeah, of course they did. We did the Hardware because it opened the exact same way with the story about the parakeet. Like that was a thing where it's like, oh yeah, he did the parakeet story. God, I can't believe I forgot that. I'm losing my mind.
Talked about a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's oof, man. Milestone. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. Read it.
Make mine Milestone.
Yeah, if you haven't read it, listeners, check it out. Also, check out the Milestone
all of
documentary.
our babbling about it has made you decide that it's worth your time and energy.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what are we doing? Oh yeah, entertaining ourselves.
It is entertaining, and again, like I said, I had read most of this stuff way back when, but it's good to go back and be like, oh yeah, this is the parts I remember. These are the parts I obviously am forgetting. These are the things that like, oh man, I didn't pick up on that the first time around. So, yeah, man, this is a trip down memory lane for me in a lot of good ways. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And this is a trip down like the road not taken for me because I just missed it. I totally missed it. Part of it was an era that I wasn't as deep into comics, and part of it was I just don't think it was at the store that I was going to.
Yeah,
it wasn't like prominent. I think it was a period where I was actually it's like the comics that were available in town were at like a used bookstore. So comics wasn't like their primary thing. But yeah.
Hey, if you're ever in the Twin Cities area, you may understand when I say that my local comic store was Shinders, which was the baseball card and collectible store that was also a comic store that had like weird financial crap that meant that they were like, I don't even remember what was the crap, what happened exactly, but like, oh, there was something shady happening with Shinders. You just know that like, oh, that's why they.
Well,
I read
You had college comic book knowledge up there too, though.
That's true. I mean, we had smaller
Ralph
ones. Like
we had
yeah, as opposed to Shinders, which had like 4 locations or whatever. There were no individual places, but Shinders was the one that I could go to when I was younger. So like that's the one that was in my head.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, obviously, when we're a certain age, it's the one that you can walk to.
Ooh, yeah, I didn't quite have that even. I just was at the ones where my dad could drop me off while I went to after we went to the dentist or whatever. Gotcha. Shinders. There was a great expose on it in, I think, the Minnesota Reader or something a while ago. I don't remember. It was fascinating to be like, oh, that's what happened. Some guy scammed everybody else.
Mobbed up.
Oh wow.
Pretty much, yeah. That was kind of the story of it. Was like, oh, mob ties. Anyway.
Well, I mean, the mob's got to go somewhere.
Might as well get into selling comic books. Maybe they'll be a little more reliable this time.
You also took me back just talking about like the junction between sports cards and comics too, because I don't know if it's just that
Falls has both. Yeah.
I mean, I don't don't think sports cards are as big as they were. Admittedly, like I
No. I mean,
stopped
they go back and
collecting.
forth.
Yeah.
They had a pandemic bubble too. You
Oof.
started seeing signs at Target saying that you were only allowed to buy 2 packs at a time, that sort of thing.
Woof. Those
Um,
were the days, as they say.
right.
But yeah, it is making me it is making me nostalgic, not for the actual specifics of that era, but just for like, oh, that's when some of this great stuff was coming out, and I wish I'd
Yeah.
had better access to it. But that's
Yeah.
regrets.
Well, and that's the advantage of the era we live in, where everything's getting collected or put digitally or whatever. So much of that stuff that we didn't have access to or didn't have money, thank God, hasn't completely gone away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love being able
You
to
know,
catch up on stuff I didn't
that
read.
is such an issue. I mean, because really, if you look at 10 years earlier, how many of the 80s publishers that went under are digitized? I mean, how many Kamiko comics can you find? How many
man.
Malibu comics can you find?
Kitchen Sink
How
Press,
many
baby.
Kitchen Sink is Dennis still has lots of them in his warehouse.
Oh, that's true. Oh, yeah.
And a surprising number of them have been digitized because, among other things, Kitchen Sink was
That's
they retained their copyright.
yes.
So
There is
even
that.
when he wasn't making them, other people could. See, I got Dennis has become a friend, so I got them's fighting words, man.
No, sorry, I didn't mean that in a negative way. I was trying to think of like another '80s publisher that
Yeah, the
kind of
Kitchen
sank.
Sink actually started, I think, late 60s. Kitchen Sink
Oh
became
God.
um well, because Dennis started as an underground cartoonist, but he was also like the only one of them that had any business sense. So the next thing he
Huh.
knew, he was a publisher more than a cartoonist. Um, and he's such a comics aficionado that he tried to like wed um the undergrounds with the old stuff. So, they did editions of Steve Canyon, and they did editions
That's right.
of
Yeah.
of Nancy, and they did editions of all sorts of stuff. For that matter, we talked extensively the last time he was on, and I've started trying to pick up as many of them as I can get. The book that he liked the most was Snarf. And it was really because A, it was funny. He likes the humor. It's kind of got a Mad Magazine type feel to it. But B, it was the place where he tried really hard to occasionally get some of the old guys to do stuff, even though it was mostly undergrounds, and certainly to go back and forth. One issue would have a cover by an underground cartoonist, and the next issue would have a cover by a classic cartoonist. So, like, when I was in Pittsburgh this weekend, I picked up 2 issues of Snarf. One of them's got an Eisner cover, and one of them's got a Harvey Kurtzman cover.
Hmm.
They both have like Howard Cruz and whatnot inside. So yeah. Sorry, that was a complete diversion.
Hey, it's
I
almost
like
as if
my
it's
Kitchen
almost as
Sink.
if we do those all the time here.
I know we do. We do. Any parting words from anybody? Anything we want to?
I don't know, man. This was this is a really good turning point for the whole Milestone universe, but of course it's
Right.
about to be a little bit undermined by the fact that we're about
Yeah,
to do
we're
this
we're, we're
gigantic
about to
crisis
have
crossover.
we're gonna have one more arc before Worlds Collide, and then we're gonna have to decide how quickly we can get through Worlds Collide. I think I'm for trying to read as much of it because I think it's 14 issues. I certainly don't want to go more than three episodes with it. I'm willing to, since we're over
Maybe
the
do
summer,
2.
I'm willing to go 1 if people think
Yeah,
they
we could. I
can
mean, yeah.
read it all in that time. It's summer, so we've got more reading time available. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I haven't read it.
I'll do whatever you
I'm
guys want to do.
I'm guessing there isn't going to be so much that we're going to be upset if we only spend an issue talking about it, or an episode talking about it, but we don't have to make the decision now
Yeah, we can
because we've
figure
got
out
Blood
amongst
Syndicate for next month.
Yeah.
But
I was
that's
about
what
to
I'm
say,
putting in people's heads.
yeah, so let's remind ourselves how much Blood Syndicate? It's 4 issues of Blood Syndicate. What's the issue numbers?
I think it's only 3 issues of Blood Syndicate,
okay, nice.
actually. So
Relatively
this
quick.
month is easy reading. So I might even deliberately try to start Worlds Collide myself anyway. And then Worlds Collide is 14 parts.
Woof. I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was that long. Good God. That's
Yeah.
oof. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's Mana Steel 35, Hardware 17, Superboy 6, Icon 15, Steel 6, Blood Syndicate 16, Worlds Collide number 1, Superboy number 7, Hardware 18, Superman Man of Steel number 36, Icon 16, Steel 7, Blood Syndicate 17, Static 14, and that's it.
Good God. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll try to blitz through that in one episode. I kind of
Yeah.
want to just because it's so much. I don't really want to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
crossovers, yeah, especially like
I mean,
the most
you know,
obvious thing was for them to cross over with DC. And I kind of don't
have
want
each
to.
other. Yeah, we have each other's email addresses and
Yeah, let's
and
figure it
phone
out.
numbers. So like, if as we're reading it, we think that there's something more to talk about, we can change our mind. But yeah, I'm leaning towards next issue is Blood Syndicate, and then or next episode is Blood Syndicate, and then July is we just blow through all of Worlds Collide so we can get back to the regular Milestone universe.
And so all you listeners out there who love in that specific demographic who love to hear podcasters talk scheduling, you're welcome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's in
No,
case
I'm
people
joking.
want to
This is a
read
joke.
along with us,
No, I know,
Marcus.
I
I
know.
mean, there might be somebody out there that wants to read along with us. We need to prepare them.
Absolutely.
Hi, Mom.
Absolutely.
Mom, see if
Yeah.
you can get Milestone Compendium 2 on interlibrary loan.
Yeah. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that though, too. I do think that is a really good point. And I hope that, hopefully, some people are reading along with us.
That is one reason that I don't mind talking a little bit of scheduling on air is I figure it is the sign to everybody that we're at the end. So, if they really don't want to listen to it, they're probably not going to miss anything great if they just like skip forward. But
No, I'm
also,
kidding.
I like to dream that maybe there's one person in Albuquerque that's been reading along with us.
Albuquerque's got some good readers. I can see it happening.
I mean, and if you're there, 22 panels podcast at gmail.com. Tell us how terrible we are. Tell us how great we are. Or just tell us why Milestone is awesome.
Or how hot it is in Albuquerque right now. Because I'm guessing,
Well, yeah, that too. Unless you're in Alaska, in which case tell us how cold it is. I mean, whichever.
Yeah, give us some weather updates wherever you are.
I like weather updates.
For sure, man. I want to know.
For the brothers Anderson not related, this has been the Milestone Book Club on 22 panels. We'll see you after the next page.
Peace.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22panelspodcast.